Do you want to know all about the MDT XRS chassis, all its available options, and see a complete teardown? Stay tuned to find out. Hello there, Ring Steel Nation. Welcome back to the bench. Today, we're going to be talking about this MDT XRS chassis. And what I thought I'd do is tell you guys about what I bought, the options that I bought here, my experiences with MDT from a customer service perspective. Then we'll just look at about the items that were inside the box that came with this. We'll talk about the fit and finish. We'll talk about opportunities for improvement that MTD might be able to incorporate into future versions. We'll compare this to the Bergara HMR chassis. This is actually going to go on my Bergara B14R, my 22 long rifle rimfire, which is currently in a Bergara HMR chassis. I'll tell you why I bought this particular chassis. We'll do a complete teardown. I'm going to take every nut and bolt out of this deal, show you guys the inside, what's aluminum, what's plastic. We'll get a good look at that. And finally, we'll add all the options and install our B14R receiver and trigger assembly into this unit. And I'll give you guys my final thoughts on this. This is going to be a long video, guys. I mean, if you guys want a short video, there's plenty of short videos and short reviews on this MDT XRS chassis. In this case, I think, you know, if you're really looking at this and wanting to spend the money, there might be some questions that you have about how this thing is put together. And I want to see if I can answer all those questions for you in this one consolidated, very detailed video. So anyway, stay tuned and we'll get going here. So guys, as you can see, I purchased the MDT XRS chassis. Here it is in all its glory. Beautiful looking chassis. This is just basically how it came out of the box. I haven't done anything with it. Along with the XRS chassis, I also purchased the MDT enclosed forend for the XRS chassis. And I also purchased the forend weight kit that's specific to the XRS chassis. So these are all the options that I know of that are specific to the XRS. There's other options you can get like Arca Rail or these M-Lock accessories. We're not going to talk about those because those are more universal for all their chassis, but we will talk about the specific XRS chassis items that I purchased. So let's talk a little bit about the ordering experience. I actually purchased this on their Black Friday sale. They have a legendary Black Friday sale every year, and I believe that's the only sale that MDT has annually, and that sale is 40% off of their factory second chassis systems that they have. And I was kind of looking at the XRS chassis. You know, it's kind of expensive for a 22 long rifle, but with the idea that I can get a factory second, I really didn't care about that. At 40% off, I went ahead and ordered one on their Black Friday website. There were some challenges right in the beginning when the website went on. It didn't show the sale prices. It was all full retail prices for the factory seconds. They waited a little bit. Within an hour, it was fixed. And I ordered my chassis system. And so anyway, I placed the order. There was no issues there once the order was placed. And then it was like Christmas. And I still hadn't received the chassis. And I contacted MDT through their support email address. And pretty quickly, I got an email back. And apparently, they had actually emailed me to let me know that they had an issue with their website. And they oversold this particular SKU number. And they didn't have enough factory second chassis to accommodate all the orders. But MDT, with their great customer service, honored the price of the 40% discount and went into manufacture and built brand new units and sent these units out. This is a brand new unit. As far as I can tell, it is not a factory second unit. So, you know, you got to applaud MDT for just not canceling all those orders. And I'm glad they didn't cancel the order, because in the meantime of waiting, I decided to go back and order the XRS forend and that forend weight. I think the forend is $159. I don't recall the forend weight, maybe $60, something like that. So I had already invested more than $200 back into the chassis, and if they had canceled this order, I really would have been in a pickle, because there wouldn't have been a way to utilize those parts, and I don't know that I would have paid 40% more to get a brand new one. So I'm very pleased with my experience with MDT. I think it's great that they honored the price and sent out brand new units to everybody that were expecting factory seconds. So just wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience. Okay, here we are on the bench with our MDT XRS chassis. Obviously inside the box you get the chassis system itself. There is an instruction card, nothing too major here. One thing to note is it does specify 60 inch-pounds for the action screws, but this is the instructions that came in. On the back side there's some accessories. It's interesting that they didn't include the enclosed forend or the additional weight kit inside this as one of the accessories, but instead chose scope rings, muzzle brakes, and the arc adapter. No biggie, just something that I noticed. Also in the box is a vertical grip that can replace this more traditional hunting style angled grip. There were also some additional spacers in here for the length of pull adjustment. 2 are on the buttstock now, and there's an additional 3 here. There was a chamber flag indicator that you can use. There's also a couple of these screws that have brass tips on them. It didn't say anything in here about these. I wasn't real sure what they are, and then finally decided after I took them out, I think they're to replace the thumb screws that are on the cheek weld adjustment, the comb height adjustment. You can pull these off, and then these screws slide right in there in case you want something that is a snagless design. And then finally, an MDT sticker. Nothing major there. So that's everything that's inside of the box. And aside from this chassis system, I also purchased the MDT enclosed forend upgrade for this to replace the forend that's on here. So that can go on there. And also I purchased the weight kit. And this is the weight that goes in. This slides in either here on the standard forend that comes with it, or it will also slide into the enclosed forend there, and adds you a little bit of weight. As you guys know from previous videos with my B14R, it is a carbon fiber barrel, and I've had some challenges with it not being able to balance the gun out well, so I'm hoping that that additional weight is going to help us there. So anyway, guys, that's everything inside the box. Let's talk a little bit about the fit and finish. So one of the things I really love about MDT is their name essentially tells the story of what they do. I mean, modular driven technologies. Modular is the key to the entire product line. I do love the modular aspect of their chassis systems. The fact that you can replace that forend with the enclosed forend. You can also add the additional weight here in the channel. The modularity of the additional grip. I think that's all phenomenal. And I think it goes a little bit further with this particular design too, because for them to actually sell this in a bunch of different receiver types that can go in here, all they have to do is make this one little piece here that accepts the receiver, and then the forend and the buttstock and everything attaches to it. So from a inventory perspective, you know, it's a great way for them to reduce the total numbers of items that they're going to have to custom make, and then they can offer all kinds of cool accessories for this deal. So I do really like that. I think MDT is pretty well known for their quality of their products and their fit and finish. In this XRS, even though it's on the lower end of their chassis systems, the fit and finish is very good. If we look at this here, it's a completely snagless design. All these screw holes are recessed all through here. There is nothing that's going to catch your garments or anything like that. Even back here in the back, we kind of mentioned that they have these replacement screws here that you can put in. So even these little thumb hole screws aren't going to get caught on anything. I do like the snagless design of this. Even here on the magazine release, You can see that there's a little bit of a camphor here on the front side of it, so that if it's pushing forward against something, it's just not going to get caught on anything. I do really like that. Also on the bottom side here, all these screw holes that are on the bottom, these are all tapered screws, so they will self-center, and then they sit flush also at the same time. They took the time to cut that into the aluminum. I think that's really nice. So the other thing that I noticed on this is these QD cups here on the rear, and there's one on each side. They're really thick, and they appear to be machined. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. When we take this apart, we'll take a look at it. But a lot of times what you'll see, and let me grab my Bagara. Yeah, a lot of times what you'll see is something that's a little bit more thin-walled and possibly stamped, but this looks like a machined aluminum piece that's been anodized versus something that's been, I think this has been stamped. I'm not really sure, but this looks quite a bit nicer. The other thing that I really like about this is that the hand grips are very similar to a Hogue type hand grip. They're over-molded polymer here, or plastic, or fiber reinforced. I'm not sure what the plastic is that's in here, but it's over-molded with a really nice rubbery texture. It is thick. It's not that there's just a thin overmold of some rubber. It's a thick, probably an 1/8 inch to 1/4 of an inch, somewhere in that range, thickness of rubber that's over this entire deal that's encapsulated. And that's both on the vertical grip and also on this angled grip. They're exactly the same. So I think that's a really nice grip for the fit and finish. The other thing that I like about this, you know, that goes to attention to detail, you might not be able to see it, but let's take a look here. See here, these are all nuts in here. And a lot of times when you get these polymer bits and pieces from other companies, what they'll do is they'll use kind of like a heavy threaded lag screw type deal, where this will screw into a plastic deal and self tap into a piece of plastic or a plastic standoff. And what happens is over time, there's a potential that standoff could break inside and then cause that to loosen up, and you have no way to fix it. The fact that they took the time to utilize these nuts on all these through hole pieces to pull these two halves together on the buttstock, I think that's really a nice feature. You'll be able to torque these down. You don't have to worry about them coming loose. You can put a little Loctite in there if you want. So the fact that they took the time to recognize that was a better solution than just a plastic standoff in here that you would, you know, screw into a standoff versus an actual nut in here, I think says a lot about them wanting to design a product that is going to stand up to heavy use and abuse potentially. And the other thing that I really like here, if you look at the trigger guard, this is a polymer piece or nylon reinforced, whatever it is, plastic essentially. There is a cut here so that you're able to get your Allen key down in there and adjust an adjustable trigger without having to remove this from the chassis to do that. So this little attention to detail is very nice. So what I'd like to do now is talk about some opportunities for improvement. And guys, this is really nitpicky. You know, this would be no reason not to purchase this chassis at all. Just some ideas that I had as I looked at this. First of all, we talked about the rear QD cup, and it's really nice. It's on both sides here. The issue is there's no QD quick detach up front. You do have a sling swivel stud underneath. However, there's no quick disconnect cup up here. And I do feel like, you know, that this cup could potentially be brought up to the front into this spot. It's already drilled and tapped, as you can see here, for the screw that is here holding on this piece of plastic. And I think there's an opportunity to have been had to put a QD cup here in the screw location. You got a screw hole in this QD cup anyway. You can see it down in there. There's a little, in this case, there's just the little nut there. So I feel like something could have been done to accommodate the QD cup and also retain these M-locks here. Now, to the point of the M-locks, MDT does sell in M-LOK weight that has an integrated QD cup. So if you were going to weigh this anyway and put some additional weight on it, you could get the MDT M-LOK weights with the integrated QD cup. So that's one thing I would like to see, is that there was a QD cup there. The other opportunity is here on the grip. I really like the fact that it has another grip that you can put on that's vertical. I do plan to use the vertical grip. That's how all my precision rifles are set up, with a vertical grip. One thing that I would like to see, I think that would be really cool, is if they would slot this a little bit here where the screw goes in, slot this so that you can move the grip forward a little bit and back a little bit. Everybody's hand's a little bit different. I tend to have, my hands are, what's the word? Sausage fingers is maybe the word. You know, I'm a bigger guy, so I've got sausage fingers, and all this extra fat that's kind of in my hand, it would be nice to have the grip just a little bit forward. And it doesn't have to be much. I mean, if it moved a 1/4 inch forward and a 1/4 inch backwards from its center location, that would be ideal. So I would like to see more companies do that. And simply, I think in this case, you know, there might be a little bit of redesign here in the stock, but just to elongate this hole so that you can move it forward and back. And I think they could have designed this polymer back here in the back to support that. Wouldn't have cost any additional money, I don't believe, and it should work really nice. So that's another idea that I had. An opportunity for improvement is just an adjustable grip to go forward and back. Lastly is on the trigger guard, and it is a nice trigger guard. I'll try and get you guys in here to kind of see it here. You can see this bit right here is aluminum, and then it's got this trigger guard's all polymer around here. It is a big trigger guard. It's designed in such a way that you can definitely easily work it with a gloved hand, so that's really nice. As we mentioned before, it does have the cut in here so that you can take the trigger and adjust your adjustable triggers. This bit right here in the front for the mag release is a aluminum piece, and this is where my problem is with this one here. If you look down in there where that pin is, it's in there. When you move this, that entire pin rotates. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I'm hoping it's coming up on film. And I think, you know, with time that's going to wallow out a little bit. There is a spring down in there. If it's visible, there's a spring down in there that I do believe is kind of retaining all that. So that shouldn't slip out or anything. But one of the issues that I have is I've had a lot of experience with polymer AR-15 lowers. Here's a New Frontier Armory. I believe this was nylon filled or fiber filled. I don't know what they use. They use something like that. But there's two places on these polymer lowers that traditionally have had issues. One is these ears here. If you're not careful, you can break one of these off. And the other are these two ears right here that hold the bolt release. And I've seen these two crack, where they'll crack, and it's the same deal where there's kind of a pin in there, and you know, and that bolt release catch stays in there, and I've seen these crack too. And when one of those cracks, this is pretty much useless at that point. So just looking at the two ears here that are holding on the magazine release lever, they are nearly identical in thickness to the magazine catch on this polymer lower. So, you know, is it going to be a problem? I don't know. You know, would I like to see it to be aluminum? Yes. Would it drive up cost? Most definitely, probably. All other bits on this are all machined. I can tell these are all machined parts. So, you know, if this one trigger guard here was made out of cast aluminum, I think that would be okay too. But we'll take all this apart and take a good look at it. So that's the only thing that I'd be worried about. You know, this is a spot where the magazine's going in and out all the time. The magazine is caught on this, and it's got a pretty good spring in it. So there's always going to be some type of use happening here. And if one of those breaks off, you're going to be dead in the water, because there's no way to retain the magazine inside the chassis if for any reasons one of these ears breaks off. So anyway, that was another area of opportunity. And that's it, guys. I mean, other than that, from what I see, I really do like it. I do want to show you one other thing that I didn't mention before when we talked about the fit and finish of this deal. If you'll look here, you've got these spacers here on the rear. And I think maybe what's happened here is this butt pad was already part of a existing design for another weapon, perhaps, or another gun system. And so what they did is they just used this rubber butt pad and just had them stamp MDT on it. I think that's what's happened. I don't know for sure, but that is a little bit wider than the that here at the top is a little bit wider than the buttstock itself. And what they've done, which is kind of cool, to keep it a snagless design, this very first spacer is actually a different SKU number, and you can see here it tapers in. So if something were to come against this right here, it's going to run up that taper and then just right off the deal. So hey man, that's pretty good use of design there, so that they can keep the cost of the butt plate down without having to create a new mold and all that other stuff. Use something that's already off the shelf, and then just design this deal here so that it would taper and not snag on anything, because otherwise it would be sticking out and there would be a hard stop there. So I thought that was pretty ingenious. All right, let's compare this thing to the Bergara HMR. Give me 1 minute and I'll get that right now. So what I've got in front of you is the MDT XRS chassis here. And then right here is the Bergara HMR stock that came with my Bergara B14R. It's the same stock that they use on all their HMR series lines, so there's no difference between this and the one on even their 300 Win Mag offering, other than it'll be inletted for a long action stock. So some of you guys might be wondering what the differences are here and why you might choose this other chassis, because they are very similar. And I have to say, for a factory stock, this Bergara HMR stock is incredible. It is a very good stock. There's no wobble or play or anything like that in it. It has that aluminum, what do they call it? That aluminum channel deal that's on the inside, and then they overmold the aluminum, so it's very rigid. It is a nice stock, and to be honest with you, there's probably very few reasons to change that out. And but I wanted to show you the differences between these two, and then we'll talk about why I bought this chassis in particular for this gun. So first and foremost, I think the question is, you know, I tried to line this up at the receiver notches here, so you can see that from where the receiver mounts and the trigger and everything else, these two line up. It lines up back here in the back. So I wanted to show the front end here, and you can see here, for those that are curious, it is 2 1/4 inches longer than the Bergara HMR stock in the front. So you have an additional length of 2 1/4 inches. Another difference as we work our way back here, you can see here there is a barricade stop built right into the MDT chassis, where there's no barricade stop here. And this is incredibly important for those of you that are doing precision rifle. When you have the magazine in here, if you push this up against a barricade, you can create feeding issues. In particular on the 22 long rifle, I think when you're talking about the voodoo rifles and stuff, though I've not experienced it on this gun, having that pressure here could cause you some issues with feeding. On top of that, you know, constantly pushing that into the barricade could cause something in here to break. On a Bergara, one thing that's interesting here is that this piece here is all aluminum. It's all cast aluminum. So, you know, as I was talking about the trigger guard on the MDT chassis, this one's a nylon or polymer type plastic deal. On the Bergara, this is a aluminum insert, and it's all aluminum bottom metal. So yeah, that's a really nice bit there. If you look at the magazine release here, the magazine release on the MDT chassis is significantly larger and beefier and weightier. The Bergara is very nice, and honestly, I would have no complaints with that, and didn't have any complaints with it. It doesn't have the angled bits here on the very corners that would allow things like a barricade to slide off of it rather than hanging up. It's just a flat lever that's there. But still, you know, not a huge difference between the two. As we work our way back, you can see here at the trigger guard, as I mentioned before, on the MDT chassis, you have a cut here to be able to adjust the trigger. On the Bergara, there is no cut on the trigger guard here. So in order to make the adjustment, you either have to try and wiggle a Allen wrench down into the trigger area, the trigger recess, or remove it from the chassis in order to make your adjustment there. Oh, one thing that's really cool here is it has retained the action screws are retained in these recesses here. When we take all this apart, we'll see if they can be replaced. But the point is they're retained in here. So on the Bagara, when you take the action off, I mean, this all comes off as the units. You can lose these screws or whatever. On the Bagara, you know, once you let the action out, I mean, those are in there. They're captured in there, and they're not going anywhere. So yeah, that's a pretty slick deal there. That these are retained. They're not retained here, but this is a traditional design. As we move back to the grip itself, you can see they're both about the same angle. There's really no difference there between these two grips. However, when we do install the vertical grip, you see that your hand will move forward a good bit here, and you'll have the vertical grip here to work with the MDT chassis. As we move further back on the rifle, you can see this cut here is very similar. The MDT chassis is very flat straight across from the bottom of the palm swell to the or the bottom of the handguard all the way to the rear. This is a flat surface here, or pretty flat other than this cutout. So I think this will sit in a bag really nice. What you won't have is the ramped rear stock like you do on so many guns that'll allow you to push the rifle forward or backward a little bit on a bag and change your elevation. On a style like this, and very similar to the Bagara here that's straight, you know, you'll just need to give the bag a little bit of a squeeze to change your elevation, or release to change your elevation. On the Bagara, you have this single hole here for the sling stud swivel that would go in here. On the MDT chassis, there's actually two here, so you can move it into either position. And I also suspect that these two are here. There might be maybe a bag rider option that'll come later on that would screw into these two holes. I'm really not sure, but that's the only thing I can think with having the two of these on here. Okay, so I've got a sling here with a quick disconnect. So on something like the Bagara rifle, where you have the QD cup right in the center, and the Bagara does have the QD cup on both sides. You can see one here and you can see one here. With it in the center like this, when you have the sling in the location here, and the gun is across the front of your body, and you go to mount it to your shoulder, there is a tendency for this to get wrapped around the backside of the stock. And for those of you that use a sling for positional shooting, you know there's a lot of pressure on this sling between this QD stud and the QD stud that's in the front. Having it in the middle, you just have that tendency where if you bring it up and aren't really paying attention, it'll slip around, then go around your shoulder. So that can be an issue there. On the MDT chassis, they've positioned it way up here. And so what'll happen here is that when you lift it up and you put your shoulder into here, this is just going to slip right over the top here. It's not going to have a tendency to wrap around the back side of the stock. So, hey, I think that's pretty slick. Now, I'll have to play with this as I'm shooting with it to see if this hardware that's here will interfere with the cheek weld. I don't think it is, because the cheek weld will be quite a bit further here in the front. But, you know, this small little detail, because it would have been nothing for them to locate it here in the middle, just like the Bagara. But I believe that somebody said, hey, man, think about the fact that this can get wrapped around. Let's put it up top, and it'll just slip right off. Even the way this top is designed and tapered, it lends itself well to just slide right off. So when you're doing time stages, you know, that's one less thing you have to worry about, that sling getting wrapped around the back side of it. So another difference there with the QD cup location on the rear. The barrel channel, let's talk about that real quick. So you guys that have the Bagara B14 or HMR chassis, you can see there's a significant difference in the barrel channel here between the two guns. If you were to upgrade a Bagara HMR, you're going to only be able to get a 1-inch thick barrel in there, whereas with this particular deal, you'll be able to get 1.5 inches and still have clearance all the way around it. So this is an 1.5 inch channel from the front all the way to the back. Or here's the front, here's the back. There's an 1.5 inch channel there for you. You're going to run into an issue with the HMR chassis if you rebarrel a rifle and want like more of a bull barrel, I think even a heavy contour would have a hard time fitting in here. So that's something that I wanted to point out as a little difference here between the two. The other thing is the coating. Let's talk about the coating. Guys, as I mentioned, I really like the Bagara, and this one was, because mine's a carbon fiber barrel, this came in black with gray speckles. I think a lot of people like this color quite a bit. But one thing that I noticed, it's a very thin coating that's in here, and it's going to be kind of hard to see, but if we look here at the back action screw pillar where the screw would go in, you can see the coatings all the way around here. Well, in the front here, where I've been cleaning the gun, the coating has worn away. And the gun cleaning chemicals apparently are lifting this up. So, you know, I mean, that's something that coating's coming off. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I've shot, I think, 1,500 rounds through this rifle already. So over 1,500 rounds, that's all we're seeing there is that little bit there. I do tend to clean my guns a lot. I like a clean gun, so that could be some of it. But when you clean the gun with the action inside the stock, you know, the overpressure hole on the side, some chemicals will leak out of there, and I think it's just eating away out of it. You can see down here, this all looks good. There's a little bit that's kind of gone in here. But anyway, the coating, though I think it's a really nice coating on this Bagara, I did notice that where the chemicals kind of got in contact with the front of the receiver has eaten away some of the coating. On the Bagara, this is all aluminum in here, or not the Bagara, but the MDT chassis. This is all aluminum in here. I'm making an assumption by saying this is all anodized. I believe it is anodized, and this should not react to any chemicals that are within our cleaning regimen. So, and then all the plastic bits that are kind of on the side here should not be affected by those cleaning chemicals anyway. So I did want to talk about that coating just a little bit so you guys had an idea. The last thing is on the aluminum bedding. So as I mentioned before, you can see clearly here that this pillar is completely aluminum, and it does go all the way through to the back side here on the Bagara. And there's also this channel up here in the front where the recoil lug is. This is kind of all aluminum. I believe this piece right here is all aluminum that's embedded in there. And then they've overmolded the whole thing in polymer. So there's a skeletonized aluminum chassis that's within this, and then they mold this this around that internal chassis. This is a very strong, there's no flexing in here. I can't twist it, I can't bend it, nothing. This is a really nice, sturdy stock, and I would expect a lot of years of service out of this particular stock. And it begs the question, you know, why would I spend the additional money on the MDT chassis when this is such a nice stock and adjustable in so many ways and very similar? And what I'll tell you is the reason why I bought this chassis, one, the price was really good on the Black Friday sale, but two, I think what's really important here is that this has always been out of balance in the Bagara stock. Because the barrel is a pound lighter on the carbon fiber barrel for the 22 caliber, it is just so tail heavy that it's really difficult to shoot from any kind of positions. So I needed to kind of get the weight distributed better on the gun, and I could go in here, you know, I thought about a lot of things, maybe putting some aluminum down in here and taping some weights to the side and, you know, all kinds of little ideas. I mean, I could get it balanced out by, you know, doing some kind of goofy, janky stuff. But in the end, I kind of thought about it and I was like, you know, this comes with that weight kit. Like, you can order the weight kit for the MDT chassis that slides right in there. You guys saw that earlier, and that's going to immediately add a pound to the front of the gun, a pound that I lost with the choice of the carbon fiber barrel. And then on top of that, with all the M-LOK weight kits that are available, I'll be able to add additional weights here on the sides. When this plastic piece is moved over to here, I can add some MDT weights on the side here if I want. So I can easily add an additional, you know, pound, 2 pounds here in the front if I need to balance this gun out. That was the primary reason why I ordered the MDT chassis was just because the Bagara was so out of balance that I needed to do something. I wasn't real sure, and I kind of decided in the end, hey, let's go with the MDT. The other thing is I really prefer vertical grip. Now this grip is very nice and it's semi-vertical and is very close to vertical, but having a vertical grip option for the MDT was another selling point for me. As you guys know, the enclosed forend here that we've been talking about, it has an integrated Arca rail at the bottom. Normally I would put an Arca rail and had planned to put an Arca rail on the bottom of the Bagara. And then I was like, well, we'll get this and I'll just put an Arca rail on the bottom. And I got to thinking about it. With the extra thickness of an add-on Arca rail, this barricade stop would probably, it'd probably be too shallow to be usable. And so with the forend, the enclosed forend, the Arca rail is high enough to where that you can still use the barricade stop. So that was another reason why I kind of selected to go with this MDT chassis here. Also the enclosed forend will offer a little bit of protection as you're moving the carbon fiber barrel in and out of barricades. So, you know, carbon fiber is not although it's torsionally very strong, it's kind of weak because it can crack and it can, you know, get a cut in it and break like glass in some cases. But, you know, this just offers an additional protection on the, for the carbon fiber barrel. But for me, it was just about knowing that I'd have a lot of options to add additional weight. And finally, as I mentioned, I mean, price just drove all of it. Had this not been on sale at 40% off, I don't know that we would be even looking at this right now. But the price kind of drove the whole thing for me. So anyway, there's some differences comparing the two, the Bagara and the MDT chassis, to each other. I think what we'll do next is we'll tear into this. Let's get it all tore apart so you guys can see exactly what is plastic and exactly what's aluminum and where that's all located inside the MDT chassis. I think that'll be fun to see. I don't think anybody else has done that. So hold tight. Let me get that